First order of business, you received in advance the December 21, 2022 minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting. Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Mark. Second? Second, Al. Thank you. All in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, moving to 2.0, and Barbara's not here, so I will go forward with the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting minutes from December 13th, 2022. Any? Thank you.
Second.
Jim, second. Anthony, any discussion or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, 3.0, there are no preferred agenda action items, so we'll move to 4.0 and start with 4.1. Recommend approval of payroll certification. Any questions or concerns?
So moved.
Thank you. Jason, second. Second, Mark. All in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? 4.2, recommend approval of release of retainage for C&S Engineers, Inc. work on campus-wide 2021 paving projects. Any discussion? Motion? Thank you, Mark. Second.
I'll second.
Jason? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? 4.3, recommend approval of a resolution for the extension of tuition benefits for students from Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands displaced by Hurricanes Maria and Irma. Thank you, Jim. Second. Anthony, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? 4.4, recommend approval of establishment of tuition benefit for students from temporary protected status countries.
So moved.
Thank you, Jason. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? 4.5, recommend approval of resolution for the approval of Safe Schools hardware project. Motion. Thank you, Mark. Second, Anthony. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, moving on to 5.0 information items. Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, everyone, for everything you do for the college. We appreciate it. And Happy New Year for those who I haven't seen since January 1. Few people in the room. I've seen most. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day when I'd be happy that admissions was flat. But we are less than 1/10 of 1% away from being absolutely flat. So I want to thank our admissions team. I think it's only the third year we've had better numbers in the spring than in the fall. I mean, not total numbers, but compared to last spring. We are flat. So hopefully we have flattened out and we'll be up from here. Everything we've got in the hopper is certainly working. To get us to this point, and I want to thank our admissions, marketing, and everybody who's on the matriculation side of the house for the hard work it is to get our students through the door. Had breakfast with the new chancellor and President Stenger last week. He is a delightful new leader for SUNY. Comes wanting to help, and certainly not just us, but all of SUNY. Very welcome style by everyone who has had the opportunity to meet with him. He's very excited about growing our partnership with the university and wants to help and support us there. He is going to be putting together an innovation team for SUNY, headed up by a new person he's bringing on board here in the very near future from his time in Washington as Secretary of Education. And we will be the first project that the innovation team at SUNY will take on to help support growing our partnerships with the university. In the short term, I've spoken with a number of groups about now, and most of you are aware, we're going to be working hard to expand our joint admissions program that's now 10 or 11 years old. Hard to believe. Started with the interim president just before Harvey was hired. with a pilot of 50, and we have 178 this year in the joint admissions program, and we're going to look to grow it into 2 more phases. One with students who will be provided the offer to live here. As you know, where the current joint admission students, the Binghamton Advantage Program students, live at the university campus. So they apply to university campus in the first place, so it's perfect for them to live there. We're going to see if some students would like to live here. The living arrangements would be better for freshmen because we have suites. They don't get suites over there in their freshman year, so that would be a bit of a perk, and no commute. Of course, they wouldn't have access to the student life of a big university without commuting over there for that. It might be easier than commuting for classes, so we'll see how that goes. And then trying to get more local students through that joint admissions pipeline as well. You're probably aware that vast majority of their applicants come from outside the area, but we're going to try to grow that pipeline through our local guidance offices to get more students who might not quite make the grade for Binghamton, but they're close to think about applying to Binghamton anyway and coming through our joint admissions program and otherwise having the same academic benefits as the current BAP, as we like to affectionately refer to them as current BAP students. So we look forward to taking that first big step toward further integrated partnerships with the university. And the chancellor is very excited about the concept, which is great to learn. Some of you might have seen the news. I'm going to steal a little bit of Kathy's thunder. Many of you have heard it, but we honored one of the graduates of our first graduating class, 1949. Peter Valise, with honorary membership on our basketball team. Bit of a story behind how he was on our basketball team 1 minute, and then 1 minute later he was not on our basketball team. He gave up his spot on the team for a returning veteran in 1949. And you know how things were going in the late. Some of you know how he didn't live through it, but you know what was going on in the late 40s, and he gave up his spot on the team. So what a moving experience it was, and kudos to our foundation for recognizing that from an experience where they had met him earlier. And Kathy can tell you more of the details, I'm sure, in her report. One of the most fun, moving things I've ever done as a college president, although I have a very small role in carrying his number 12 jersey and handing it to him as part of our informal ceremony at the beginning of the basketball game on was it Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon? Sunday. It's one of the, I mean, we're here about our alumni. I mean, we're not here to keep our students here forever. I know when you have good people in a business, you try to keep them forever. That's not our job. Our job is to get people out and become alumni and do good things. And what a great experience it is to have been a part of that after 75 years. And to see the smile on his face and see his family members here to support him, and even the other team went out of their way to support him in the college. And so it was a really fun afternoon. And it was a couple of weeks ago, or was it just last week, when Spark was here? We had about 2,000 eighth graders on campus being exposed to local industry and the kinds of careers and jobs they can have locally. So we can kind of get them excited about the opportunities here. And then hopefully they'll stay and attend here and or Binghamton and take many of those open jobs that we all have out there in the community. And kudos to the huge team. Partner particularly with BOCES, but support by so many entities in the area, including the Chamber of Commerce, and can't thank the schools enough, because the logistics of getting 2,000 eighth graders out of their schools and into buses and here and chaperoned around campus and fed and back to school and home is quite an undertaking, as you can imagine. Never easy to get one child out of school in the middle of the day once they're already there, let alone 2,000 of them on the same day. So thank you all for that effort. Great effort. Nice to see it back after we piloted it just before COVID, in hopes that we can get more of our students excited to for the industries and jobs we have around here. That concludes my report, Madam Chair, unless there are any questions.
Just quick comment. I had the opportunity, I know, Kevin, you were there as well, but the Binghamton University Forum, speaking of the Binghamton Advantage program, so President Stenger mentioned that transfers from SUNY Broome have the highest graduation rate at Binghamton University from any other institution.
Wow.
And students that are in the Binghamton Advantage program have the highest graduation rate of any students who attend Binghamton University. So that was, those are pretty impressive stats.
Yeah, it sure is. Penny, anything you want to add with the BAP or the nursing program and discussions around that?
Just continuing to have the conversations in terms of expanding and really partnering and getting out in the schools with BU and their willingness to go into the schools with us to, you know, one of the programs that we work with Windsor and building those pathways, and they're very willing to go in with us and show them that pathway from the high school to Broome to BU and beyond. And I know Kim's actually working with the MPH program too. She's going to be on the advisory committee to look at a pathway for that too.
Nice.
So yeah, lots of opportunity there, and we're going to pursue that with the nursing as well.
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And just as a follow-up on the Spark, I heard nothing but great comments and remarks about it. And today on an Ascension call, the Ascension HR team actually applauded that they were here and saw it and said, just amazing.
It was great, and a lot of our internal people really put a lot of time into that. It was really a great job.
Yeah, so 144 hospitals said, oh, how can we do that? I gave them your name.
Okay, happy to talk to them.
No, it's great. All right, wonderful. All right, Council on Academic Issues, Andrew.
That's me.
There you are.
Over here. Thank you. I will give my report and try to make it brief and to the point. I took over as the chair of the Council for Academic Issues in just the previous semester. One of the things we tried to do at the beginning of the semester was to change the focus from sort of procedural issues to real issues of teaching and learning. Give it more of an academic pedagogical focus than we've had in the past. So here's kind of what we did last semester. This semester is off to a rip-roaring start because our meetings are Wednesday afternoon, and we were canceled yesterday. So I don't have much for this semester going on yet. All right, we were trying to rejuvenate the Writing Emphasis Initiative, formerly Writing Across the Curriculum. We're trying to get a solid policy in place as regard to that, and also to increase conversations about writing in various disciplines all the way across the campus. We'd like to look at our plagiarism policy. We have a lot of faculty interested in ways to keep plagiarism out of the classroom and to just inform students about what it is. We've had major transitions. We're going to transfer from Starfish to City Talks. And I've been working with the chair of the College Assembly, Aaron Maruli, to give information, disseminate information to faculty about that. The transition from Blackboard to Brightspace is also, I think it's going fairly well. A few bumps along the way, but it's working out so far. We're going to try to have a conversation with some of the folks from the Teaching and Learning Center to come in and talk about how that's going on and see what issues faculty have with it, and also try to get the student perspective about what they think about Brightspace. Even more, we have had a lot of very useful, I think, collaboration with Student Assembly. The Student Assembly this past year has been terrific. They're very active, very engaged, and very interested in participating in the academic life of the campus. So that's going well. It's been going better on that front in my experience, possibly than ever. All right. We've worked with the General Education Committee, done outreach about the new SUNY General Education outcomes and our new outcomes specifically on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're going to be disseminating information from SUNY. about that to colleges. SUNY has a new fellowship program for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholars, and we're going to be talking about that at an upcoming meeting. We're participating in the Shared Governance Restructuring Committee. As I'm sure you know, we are overhauling our shared governance system, partly out of prompting from middle states and partly out of a desire just to simply see if we can't come up with better modes of communication. Specifically, we're also working on student assembly with issues related to convocation, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion requirements. We've had Dr. Drum come in and give a very useful talk to folks about the upcoming collaboration with BU. People are hearing lots of things. As you all know, it's kind of a small town. So we wanted to just get the straight information out, especially to faculty, insofar as we know what that information is at the moment. And continuing work with the Faculty Council of Community Colleges. I've been named to their governance committee. Upcoming for the new semester, we'd like to get the writing emphasis issue done. Okay. Working with Student Assembly, we're going to develop a survey of students' current experience with diversity, equity, and inclusion instruction on campus. We have a new institutional learning outcome on that front. So we would like to see what students have experienced in terms of instruction in the classroom in this area, and then do this again in a few years and see if we have more engagement and see what the students' experience with it is. Right. Continue to proactively work towards positively evolving the college's shared governance system. Work towards continued support for student learning assessment on campus. And a new one, just the latest curveball to come hurtling towards the plate. Develop strategies for teaching and reinforcing issues of academic integrity, especially in regards to advances in artificial intelligence technology. The latest round of the college essay is dead is now coming out because anyone can just go find this what is the ChatGPT thing, plug in some information and it scours the web, and within seconds you can have a really nice college level paper just sort of come out. So this is a huge issue, not only for us, but all the way across the nation. And we like to get right out in front of it, particularly sort of start combining it with traditional issues about plagiarism and instruction and just see what we're going to do about it. And it's a new wrinkle, brave new world. The technology is amazing, but it can obviously also be misused like anything else.
Well, your plagiarism work is timely.
Yes. Yeah, that's always been an issue, especially for anyone in teaching writing. But this is the new wrinkle. So we'll be interested to see where that comes. And of course, we'll try to really work out with students and see where that fits in. That concludes my report.
No, very complete. Any questions for Andrew? Wow, Jason, they'll start coming into the.
It started.
It's probably
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Good Lord. All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Student Affairs, Dr. Carol Ross.
Hi, good evening. This month's focus is going to be on what we did and what we are planning to do to bring the campus back to life. And before I introduce our AVP Dean of Students, Marquise Bennett, I just wanted to share the impact of the intentional intervention in the strategic engagement and the student engagement outside the classroom with regards to how well students do academically, because we know the research says that when students are engaged outside the classroom and when they're involved in intervention strategies, they have a tendency to do better. So we track our student cohorts to see just how well they do. And so I'm proud to say that the Student Assembly as a whole finished with the 2.8, the executive board finished with the 3.0 in the fall. Our resident advisors, who for all intents and purposes are kind of on duty 24/7, finished the fall semester with a 2.9. Really happy to say that our student athletes finished with the 2.9 as a cohort, with 33 of the 67 finishing with above a 3.0, which I think really speaks a lot to their engagement. In addition, we have some intervention kinds of programs that we run. For example, the counseling cohort, those students finished with the 2.6. The students who take advantage of our child care center, because we know they need something to do with the kids while they study, finished with 3.6, which was very good. And our students who participated who are assigned to our family empowerment program, where we have somebody who works with our single parents, that group finished with a 3.0. So we know that intentional intervention and the engagement outside of the classroom really works. And so, as we go on and hopefully our engagement opportunities grow more and more, especially now that we have a full team. They might not think so, but I think we have a full team of people in the Student Life Office. So I'd like to introduce Marquise Bennett, who will share a bit about the departments that report to the Dean's Office.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I'm going to do my best to be brief here. Again, Marquise Bennett, Dean of Students, AVP. So great to meet you all. Just a little bit about our departments that are covered under the Dean of Students Office. As you can see here, we're primarily responsible for the Child Care Center, counseling services, the Family Empowerment Program, which is a grant-funded program through SUNY, the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, and student activities. So our accomplishments from this past fall, we did a little bit of work with our students of concern and campus assessment response and evaluation team manual. We needed to update some of that language in there to make sure that it encompasses what it was that we were trying to accomplish for this past semester. We revised our OSSR student code of conduct manual to make sure that was consistent with what in terms of our goals for managing our student conduct here on the campus. Revised our student activity fee policy, increased our participation in the student assembly. As you heard from Dr. Carroll, our student assembly was full this year, and they did great academically as well as doing the work that we needed to do to keep them involved with the campus. We were awarded a first generation scholarship grant through SUNY. It's about $500 that is designed to help support our efforts in supporting our students who are first gen. And also working with our Men of Excellence program, which is our program designed to support those the men of color on our campus. In terms of counseling and health services, our goals here are really to try to create a wellness program. It is designed to support students' holistic development. The goal here is kind of more synergy between our counseling services and our health services. We understand that with our student population, mental health is really critical in their development and their growth and their ability to be successful on our campus. And so we're trying to create a program that helps us mold that a little bit better. As you can see, these are the members of our team. We work with 2.5 FTE as far as our counseling services department. Health services is primarily supported through our secretary, and the UHS provides us with a physician's assistant from their area. In terms of the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, if you've been here in previous years, that is actually a change in the name. Prior to my arrival in May, this was the Office of Student Conduct. I changed the name of the office because I really wanted it to reflect more of the educational component that we were trying to provide for our students. We didn't want this office to be seen as a punitive experience, but more as an educational environment, because that's what it is that we are here to promote. Mr. Jay Harrison is our OSSR coordinator. He came to us in November. And primarily what we're going to be working towards in the future is creating more restorative practices within this department, which basically means that we're going to move from these punitive opportunities, and we'll create more of a community-based approach towards managing student conduct. So we're hoping that will do better for us in terms of keeping our students here, retaining our students, but also preventing them from any kind of repeat actions that may have occurred. As Dr. Carroll talked about a little bit, we manage the BC Child Care Center, the Family Empowerment Program. We had students who participated in those particular endeavors. As you can see, those students performed very well this past fall semester. Their average GPA was a 3.01. Those students who participate in the Family Empowerment Program, we had 38 of those students. That is our single parent program. So it's designed to support those students who come to us as single parent families. We had 10 of those students participate or bring their sons and daughters to the Child Care Center. 8 of those students have since graduated this past December. We had 3 students on the President's List, 2 students on the Daisy List, and we managed to return 28 of those students this coming spring. So we're very proud about what we were able to accomplish there. Student activities, very, very active. Again, student activities is what we pride ourselves on in our office. The goal there is kind of really enhance the students' co-curricular experiences, because as we know from the research, students spend a majority of their time outside of the classroom, and so it's really important that we engage them in that way. As part of a student activities program, as you can see here, they completed over 200 events for the campus. We had participation from over 30 clubs and organizations. As Dr. Carroll mentioned, the average GPA for our full student assembly was 286. We were able to incorporate and develop a Broome Activities Council. So that council is really the team that put together the programs for the past semester and moving forward. Those students also participated in our NACA conference, which is the Student Activities Conference. That's the conference that we use to go to review acts and determine who we're going to bring to our campus to support us. And then, of course, we all participated in the SUNY Broome night, which was kind of like our welcoming event there activity. So, and this is the team. You see them up there, the rest of our team. And yeah, that's it. So yeah.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Just on the interventions, just interesting. So do most of the students who are participate in some sort of intervention support, is it more the course that there's more than one intervention necessary, or?
So when you're speaking of intervention, are you talking about in terms of our support services?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're tracking a little bit of that. We have students who participate across the board. We actually have a number of students who we see not only in counseling services and health services, but they're part of our student activities. They participate with us in our clubs organization. I mean, we see pretty much the same students over and over again. And what we've determined is that those students seem to be the most successful. So what we're trying to do is expand that involvement to other students who we don't see as much.
Just interesting. So just one last question from me. Where does it expand to? What do you, and maybe it's not a fair question yet, but you said, you're looking to expand interventional support. What could that look like?
Well, so what my cursory assessment has learned is that we're still not getting as much participation from our students who live in our residential facilities. We don't get a lot of our commuter students to participate. So we're really trying to expand to incorporate a little bit more work to get them involved more into the campus. So we've done some numbers there.
Great results. Yeah. Other questions or comments from anybody? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Ross, is that?
That's our report.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Student assembly update, Al.
We didn't have anything to report as we haven't met yet, but we definitely have a lot to tackle this semester and look forward to getting started. Our first meeting is tomorrow, and that'll definitely be in my report for next time. I do want to mention that we have had much pleasure working with shared governance bodies as well as faculty and administration, and we very much look forward to doing so this semester. I also actually wanted to introduce a fellow student assembly member that is looking to succeed me once I graduate this semester. Her name is Alejandra. Hi.
Welcome.
I'd like to say a few words about yourself.
Well, I'm Alejandro. I'm an engineering science student, and I'm part of student assembly. When I first joined student assembly, I was just kind of interested in what I could do on campus, and then it kind of just kept growing from there. So I think all the opportunities that grow from there actually really wonderful. And I always love to see how more and more people are participating. And so I'm just excited to be working with this stuff and with everyone here.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice.
And Alejandro comes from a fantastic school district. Oh.
It's awesome. Well, you have a great partner now. Great. Nice to meet you. Al, anything else?
No, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right. Foundation report, Kathy Williams.
Oh, no, I just made a ton of notes. All right, I promise to be brief. Elle, did you want to share the flyer?
Yeah, sure.
So, Elle is one of the folks on our student philanthropy team, and she is passing around a flyer. The students are fundraising each year to support the Student Peer Scholarship that was developed under a previous student assembly administration of Aisha Mortensen, who was the student trustee who sat in the very seat Elle did, is now a member of our foundation board. And when I had approached them to talk about potentially doing a class gift or a student's gift, typically a lot of those types of fundraising programs really are related to tangible items where they can plaque and put their name on it. And the student assembly that particular year was not having any part of that suggestion. They wanted to go right to the meat of the matter, and they decided they wanted to take on the initiative of raising money to offer at least one $500 scholarship to a peer student. Now, the team is fundraising, and over the course of the year, they've already met their yearly goal in one semester. And so we're very excited that they're going to be offering, we think, if they're successful and you go to Panera tomorrow night for your dinner and support the other fundraisers that they're doing, they'll be able to provide 4 $500 scholarships this year. So please support the students. We certainly appreciate them and thank them. Also, just while I'm thinking about it, you're going to learn more about Alejandro. Yes, he is a wonderful graduate of Windsor High School. He also is a Presidential Honor Scholar with us. And you're going to learn a lot more about him in a little bit because he's one of the students we're going to be focusing in our next magazine and sharing an article about him. Maurice and Dr. Carroll, I just wanted to let you know if there is an intervention that we came across by accident that your team, specifically Lori Brewer and the folks who are working with her on the family empowerment, we had a record number of single parent students apply for scholarships this year, and we couldn't figure out why. And then we dug in and we realized it's Lori and the team and what they're doing. All of those students. So it's an intervention they were probably strongly encouraged to, and many of them received second chance scholarships. So
Thank you.
Awesome.
One of those interventions, I'll say. Dr. Drum mentioned the Peter Valise. Just a couple of things I'd add is that I too share that it's one of the full circle moments in my career in this type of work. I never felt anything like it before. And, you know, the thing is that you have this man, and when we were interviewing him, went out to his house, he's just a lovely person. To this day, he had this regret about never being able to play basketball at Broome. And he carried it with him for 74 years. And so we started thinking about it. And one of the quotes in the magazine article, he's on the cover of the fall magazine. If you read it, we were looking at this and we said, we got to make him for the team. So Dr. Drum actually had a very important role. He presented him with a vintage State Tech jersey that Zappia's helped us create. And it did include his actual number 12 that he had for a few minutes before he didn't have it anymore. So there was a whole team, and I want to, sure.
Wasn't it, he's the one that decided to give it up. He wasn't forced to, right?
Well, I
Isn't
think
that what I read?
is that there were some additional members that weren't there for the initial tryout situation. And the veterans surfaced to the top of the list. And I think he's 100% as sharp he's sharp and he recalls everything about it. And he said, when the situation occurred, he knew he had to do this. And so he offered because it was offered, even though he was the best rebounder to come out of Ethel High School in 1947. But so
At other school, Jason.
at other school. But really it was just an amazing thing. And Kelly Cashman and her team in athletics, we shared the story with SUNY today and asked if they would help us share it a little bit because we were playing Finger Lakes Community College and the women had played first and then there was a break. And then when Colleen was, notified the team, look, we have this little presentation and I just want to tell you what it's about. We might be a little bit delayed. And when the coaches heard this, they were like, we want in on this. They were surrounding him, both teams. We got some lovely photos. Our young men, how they did it was they actually, if you didn't see the piece on the news, that when they announced the team, they announced the opposing team, Finger Lakes, their lineup of their 5. They announced the Broome team, and then they announced the special 6th man, super senior, they called him, and they called his name. He had no idea. He figured out that something was going to happen because he walked in the door and 30 of his family members were there. So this was the best by far. So you got it. It was really a wonderful thing, but it was a huge team effort and it's such a feel good thing. So now the bad news, the financials. No, I'm so I just wanted to highlight a few things. My report certainly includes them. That, as of November 30th, the foundation's total investment portfolio was $39.7 million, of which $37.9 million is endowed. Our total assets were $44.7 million, including the beneficial interest in perpetual trust, compared to the fiscal year end of June 30, 2022, when assets were $43.4 million. So we are improving a little bit. We still got some volatility. I think everybody knows it's an interesting time. Our public support revenue for year to date through November 30th was $1.14 million, compared to year to date November 2021 of $3.25 million. And it was due just skewing an estate gift, a larger estate gift that we received the previous year over that. And the foundations had a net surplus year to date through November of $2.18 million. And contributing to this was realized and unrealized gains of $1.5 million in our investments, and also a $750,000 new estate gift. Just wanted to let you know the spring 2023 magazine is in design and production right now, and will be hitting the mail first part of April. What else did I want to say? I wanted to tell you one thing about, I had some of the people in the room know this story. We were approached last year by a woman who wanted to talk to me about a nursing scholarship, and her situation was very personal in that she had lost her husband rather young. He died during COVID in one of the local hospitals, and unfortunately he was a very healthy guy, but he had a sudden illness and he died. And the woman, when she called me, she said, I want to tell you why I'm calling you. And so it just so happens that the nurse that took care of them as a family, as they were saying goodbye to their loved one, and the compassionate care that they provided, she had said to her, after her husband had passed, how can we thank you? And the young woman, and I think I have mentioned this to some of the people here at a nursing meeting, had said, and this woman had graduated from SUNY Broome and then went on to Binghamton University and got her BSN, and she's an ICU nurse, and she was working during COVID. And she said, what you can do is give money to SUNY Broome to support nurses with a scholarship. And so here we have it. We've got the commitment, we've got the money, and we're working with Michelle and the team to get that rolled out. And it's just a very, I think, concrete example of what you were talking about, Dr. Drum, about how we, our goal is to turn out these students who graduated and go into the community and make a difference. And then it just starts to come back to us. And I love this work so much because I get a constant reminder of why we do what we do. So that's my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Kathy? Great report, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on. If there's no other questions, to facilities update, Dave Vegas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the board for approving the locks and hardware that you did earlier, because now that will enable us to move ahead and secure the remaining buildings. We've already done Tishner and the BC Center, but we'll coordinate with Nick and Public Safety as to what order we do those in and how we get those done. But thank you very much for that. I'm just going to hit the highlights. You know, the library roofing project has been ongoing. That's finally been completed. The construction manager contract for the Decker nursing renovation project has been approved. So the Chase is on board, and we're waiting for the architectural contract to be approved. That's Labella. And once we get that approved, we will then begin design work for that project. We put together an oversight committee. Kim McLean, Monica Chow, and Liv and Babu, but we'd also like to add someone from IT, Penny, so I'll have that conversation with you. We'll get them on that committee as well. Facilities renovated the scanning lab and the dental hygiene clinic. We wanted to get that done, or they wanted us to get it done prior to the start of this coming semester, and it's been completed. It turned out really, really good, and it really is a reflection on the capabilities of the staff and facilities and maintenance and on the custodial side as well. We also created a new EMT paramedic classroom in the basement of business. So they will move out of old science to the business basement. But what that allows us to do, along with some other moves that will take place, is to begin to look at the old science building being converted into a student union. And we are going to develop an RFP to secure an architect to allow that to happen as the next step. So we will continue to move out the functions in old science that will not be there as part of the student union. And as I said, we'll get the RFP out for the architectural services relatively soon. The other highlights, we're going to be constructing a fitness court. I'm surprised that Dr. Ross didn't speak to that. On campus, if you have been over to BU on the backside of the East Gym, they have a fitness court, and also on Floral Avenue in Johnson City, the Floral Avenue Park has one also. So this will mirror that, and this will be located on the backside of the student center, between the student center building and Alumni Drive. Design work has been finalized for the renovation of the restrooms in both Old Science and Student Services. The advertisement for the bid will be in Sunday's paper, and the bid opening will be on February 23rd. And lastly, our on-site energy manager, Liv Babu, again, continues to identify and implement energy saving projects across campus. So with that, I will be more than happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. All right. Last but not least, budget and finance update, Michael.
Thank you. So just piggybacking on Dave's report. In addition to all the capital projects he's talked about, we're this month is we're in 3 different fiscal years. So we did identify that the state is supporting all of the county approved capital projects that the county approved in December now go into the state budget cycle. State budget will be presented on early next week. It'll include a couple of major projects, the 3rd phase of the nursing expansion, and phase 1 was 2 million, phase 2 was 2 million, and phase 3 is another $1 million, $500,000 of which foundation supported, and $500,000 that SUNY will. So that will go through hopefully to be approved on or about April 1st. We have well over $1 million approved also in the state budget for what we call core funding, which will go towards the student union project. as well as for some additional library improvements. There's also funding in there for the completion of the music at Campus Center, and some funding for the business building roof. So that's all kind of last year's submission, which started a year ago, February. That it's a 15-month process from that February, county approval, and then SUNY approval on or about April 1. So we're now, end of January, starting the next capital project process. We'll come to the board at the February meeting with proposed projects that will be part of the county's 2024. They're on a calendar year, their 2024 capital plan. We're finalizing review of all of that. So we'll present that to the board in February, and then that goes through about a 6 to 8 month process with the county, part of their proposed county budget and capital plan, which then gets approved by the county in the November, December cycle, and we start all over again in the state budget process. So we have a tremendous amount of activity on the capital project side, given 75-year-old campus. Some infrastructure, but I think some interesting new projects as well. Meanwhile, like I said, we're in 3 different fiscal years. We're completing Bonadio, our external auditor, was in last week. We're kind of sort of finalizing the 21-22 fiscal year. Probably get to the board either March and or April. Last year, we included the affiliate as component units of the college's financial statements, which had always included the foundation, but also includes housing now and FSA. So we're also completing the FSA audit. So those will be included. So again, we'll do that March, April. Doesn't look like any issues. So hopefully we'll have no findings and a clean opinion. Meanwhile, you have in your packet our budget forecast. The bottom line is about the same, we need about 3.8 million of stimulus money. That will leave about 2.9 million remaining of all of HERF money. 2.9 will remain. I anticipate that we'll need to include that entire amount in next year's proposed budget. Next year's proposed budget is starting next week. Departments will get instructions. Departments have the month of February. Then senior team reviews it during the month of March. We'll present the draft budget here in April. Goes down to the county on May 1. County exec reviews it during the month of May. Determines sponsor share amount pretty much. Then it goes to the county ledge in June, gets adopted in June by the county. We come back to the board in June with both the budget and the fee and tuition schedule. So that's kind of the timetable for next year's budget that we're in the throes of. So those are kind of the key things that we're currently working on. We'll, now that we have solid spring numbers, have a pretty good idea of the forecast for the current year, working on next year's budget. We'll come back either in February or March with an updated financial multi-year sustainability plan, which is pretty critical in terms of financial viability of the college, independent of whatever the collaborative relationship is with BU. I think we fundamentally have a responsibility to have a budget, a balanced budget, and a sustainable budget over the next several years. Meanwhile, a number of initiatives that have been identified as part of the sustainability plan, especially recruitment and retention initiatives. I know Dr. Kelly will be coming forth at least generally every month to provide critical updates, because certainly on the revenue side of the sustainability plan, that's pretty critical as we go forward. Would echo, I think, positive news is we were pretty flat for spring term, and I think that bodes well with some BAP expansion and some other initiatives that are in the plan, that I think we might have some modest upside on the revenue side, and just need to continue to manage the expense side as well as we can. So those are kind of all the major initiatives that are currently in play, and will over the next several months be bringing those forth to the board.
Michael, you read my mind about the viability plan, because I do think we need monthly updates. And also Dr. Ross, you know, I think at least as I look at it, right, student affairs, and then certainly the viability plan and all the actions that are going in BAP and expanding those programs, equally important in drawing you know, students to the campus. So I think monthly we need updates. I know we've alternated in the past, but I think now mission critical that we hear these updates monthly.
And then just finally on, and I know this is generally under the housing side, but how housing goes, the college goes, and vice versa. We are heavily involved in the refinancing of the village. We're in the 9th year of a 10-year bank financing, and so we've retained through housing investment banker. College is very, very heavily involved in that whole process, and we're receiving reasonably good news that the market is settling down, and I think we've structured an arrangement between the college and housing on lease space, as well as I think with the BAP expansion, that we have a good story around optimizing vacant units long term, and some preliminary discussions in the marketplace has shown some interest, especially going long term, probably via the bond market rather than through the bank. So more to come. We have 6 to 12 months, so timing will be important, but that's also a major lift that the finance office is currently involved with, and I think will be critical as part of the dynamics with BU as we go forward as well. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Michael, along those lines, with regards to the units, and some are being taken offline or not being utilized, correct?
Actually, so initially we were thinking about taking a number of suites offline on the first floor,
Right.
and configuring some lease space between the college to try to provide support services relative. I think once the BU discussion came on around what we're calling BAP 2.0, which is to have how students live on the college's campus with an opportunity to go to BU in year 3, we kind of halted that, and we are leasing space, storage space. However, I think with the opportunity with BU, a year or two down the road, we think we'll be able to fill those units. And even if we don't totally, I think the college will have an opportunity to lease any space and convert it rather quickly from year to year, to the extent that there's greater demand for those. So we've been able to flip those back and forth. I think from the investor side, they'll have a lot of comfort knowing that the college will backstop any gap to get to debt covenant ratios, something that the college and the housing boards approved, well over a year ago. So I think between that,
It's 1.2.
yeah. So I think we've in the lease documents, we have it at 1.3 just to give us a little more based on the investment banking and HH&K conversation. We thought maybe to increase that a little bit might be beneficial as we go out to the marketplace.
Where's the amortization on that to hit that 1.2? What's the amortization on the loan?
I think it's 30 years.
Right. So are you looking to do a refi now? Is that what you're looking to do?
Yes, I think we're looking at converting it from this 10-year renewal with the bank with the hedge of just going right to bonds. We haven't made a final decision, and I think the RFP process will have a conversation with finance institutions, and I think we just got to weigh any number of things as we go forward. Certainly the board will be involved, and
I was just curious. So okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Michael? All right. The media report, Jesse?
Standard report.
Thank you very much. All right. Any other matters to come before formal board meeting? I would like to have a brief executive session. So
Can I ask one more question? I was late and I apologize. But did we pass the thing where the protected areas went through? Does that include the students that are now, that we got from Dorian Zanka, students that are now at West Middle School that are from Afghanistan?
It could. It depends on whether they can make it through the bureaucratic tunnel, but it could.
Because they don't have the papers, but they couldn't get them before they got out. The papers stipulating that they was protected, protected area or something.
It depends on whether they can hit the benchmark that SUNY requires and the feds to meet it. So they're technically eligible. Whether they can make it through the bureaucratic gauntlet is a question, and I imagine some will and some won't.
We're only talking about two here, two students.
Yeah, they'd have to go through the process and see if they can touch all the bases, but they're eligible based on where they're from.
This included what we have included.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they've requested, independent of them, SUNY provided these resolutions to us in the middle of December, encouraged community colleges to piggyback on what SUNY board approved. Meanwhile, this inquiry took place. I represented to them that these resolutions were going to the board, would most likely get approved, which would give them the mechanism, if they're eligible, to be able to take advantage of it. There's been a lot of detailed conversations. We've included SUNY bond counsel. We've included the county's legal counsel relative to the interpretation of all this. So this is kind of an ongoing discussion, but the communication to you was predominantly to at least have the board create the opportunity for those that are eligible to be able to take advantage of it.
Okay. That's all I can read.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, can we have a motion to go into executive session? Second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry. Anthony?